Hi there, I'm Almar Ardesus, your learning facilitator for today. Welcome to Almar Ardesus TV. Campus Journalism. Learning objectives. At the end of these learning sessions, the participants should be able to Number 1. Define journalism and its underlying principles. Number 2. Understand RA 7079 or the Journalism Act of 1991. Number 3. Identify the parts and fields of the school paper. Number 4. Learn the technicalities and prerequisite knowledge upon writing. And number 5. Execute what they've learned. What is journalism? So journalism, according to the American Press Institute.org, is the activity of gathering, assessing, creating, and presenting news and information. It is also the product of these activities. Meanwhile, Wikipedia defines it as the production and distribution of reports on current events or news based on facts and supported with proof of evidence. So basically, journalism is the mechanism of journaling. So when we say mechanism of journaling, it is the way or the phenomenon in which occurrences are being written into a journal, no? Basically. Now, it is being reported. So, hence the news reports we've seen and hear in radio and television. The word journalism is taken from the French journal, which in turn comes from the Latin journal or daily, or means daily. So the Acta Journal or the handwritten bulletin was put up daily in the Forum, the main public square in ancient Rome, and was the first newspaper. So basically, it tackles the history of the word and the occurrence of journalism. So what are the functions of journalism? Number 1, it informs the public through the news coverage. Number 2, it influences and molds the public opinion. Number 3, amuse or entertain the public. Number 4, serve and promote community welfare as a whole. So, as we all know, news coverage are meant for information, and opinions, editorials, columns are meant to influence and mold the decision and the thinking of the community, no? And sometimes there are news or articles that are meant to amuse or entertain. And number 4, there are news that is calling for call for action for its receivers, no, or its viewers, no. Next, the scopes of journalism. So journalism covers 3 channels or areas of mass communication. Number 1, the audio. Number 2, audiovisual and print. So audio means it is what we hear. Audiovisual is this is what we hear and what we see, and print, this is what we read. No, in campus journalism, this is very evident. That's why in sectoral conferences, there's 3 categories: the publication, the radio broadcasting, and the TV newscast. No? So the first, in the history talaga, na una yung publication, then yung radio broadcasting, and then yung development ng communication, ng mga channels, kaya nagkaroon ng TV newscast. So what are the ethical principles for journalists? So this is very important for us journalists to know the ethical principles, and this is our foundation that will serve and will promote just journaling, no? So these principles are presented by the masterclass.com in their writing What is Ethics in Journalism? Learn about journalism ethics with tips from legendary journalist Bob Woodward, published last May 5, 2021. So number 1, honesty. So journalists have an obligation to seek out the truth and report it as accurately as possible. So this requires diligence. This means making every effort to seek out all the facts relevant to a story. So journalists should also corroborate any information with multiple sources. So honesty, it is very important that the news is true, that it is valid, that it really exists, it really happens, no? Kasi in our time that the fake news is very high, honesty is very important in our journalist. Ano po? Next. So, by the way, Bob Woodward is an associate editor, if you are curious about him, at the Washington Post, where he has worked for 49 years and reported on every American president from Nixon to Trump. No. Next, independence. So, independence. So, journalists should avoid taking political sides and should not act on behalf of special interest groups, any political affiliation, or financial investments that might constitute a conflict of interest with the subject they are writing about should be declared to editors and readers. So some organizations characterize this principle as objectivity, while others, especially non-profit civic journalism projects, reject this term, as they position themselves explicitly on the side of public interest. So meaning to say, when you say independence, dapat po yung pagsulat natin ng ating mga article, ito ay hindi dapat umaayon sa isa lang side, no? It must show the different side. And when it comes to political sides, no, especially in news, wala po dapat tayong pinapanigan. So our news must be not biased. So papasok na din yan yung fairness. Ano po? And then it's very important, aside from being a journalist, as a reader, that we know the background of the writer. Ano ba ang kanyang mga stand on different issues? Ano ba ang kanyang alam? Gaano ba kalawak ang kanyang alam? Ano po? Next, fairness. So, fairness, journalists should show impartiality and balance in their reporting. Most news stories have more than one side, and journalists should capture this. They should not place two different perspectives on equal footing where one is unsupported by evidence. So the exception to this impartiality rule is opinion writing, as well as genre journalism and creative nonfiction. So, basically, in fairness, lahat po tayo dapat sa pagsusulat ay fair and not biased. This can be seen in our cohesive devices. Ano po, kung lahat yan against, and then maaring or maaring may pinoprotektahan kasi there is news that is limited. When you say limited, the negative part of something, of a phenomena, is being hidden. Ano po? So, but there is an exception. The exception is the opinion writing. Of course, in opinion writing, as you are expected to take a stand, no? So, next, in genre journalism and creative nonfiction. So, genre journalism is basically you are the one who are reporting. No po? So, genre journalism is an unconventional style of journalism that really relies on the reporter's personal involvement in the story. While traditional reporting relies on hard facts, genre journalism takes readers a step inside the mind and feelings of the writer as the story unfolds. It features the author as a protagonist simultaneously experiencing and reporting on a story from a first-person point of view, and the writer becomes part of a story, portraying events through their own experience, which offers reader their version of truth. It is often presented through the lens of social and self-critique and usually contain little rewriting and editing. Example, the mobile journal of 1PH News. So, yung genre journalism is basically a style of journalism where the writer is the protagonist. Or, this can be seen in feature writings. No po? Na yung the occurrence of the event was been experienced by the writer so that we can see that it is really the truth, no? Example, if this is the mobile journal of 1PH News. Next, public accountability. So, news organizations should listen to their audience to enable the public to hold them accountable. Journalists should write under their own bylines and accept responsibility for their words. when news outlets publish factual errors, they need to issue a correction or what we call an erratum. Okay, public accountability because every word that comes from a writer is crucial, no? Lahat po ng ating isusulat, ng ating sasabihin bilang journalist ay importante na dapat paninindigan natin ito kung sakaling may mag-refute sa atin ito. Ano po? So, an erratum is the news outlet, the publishing, it is a statement where the publishing body accept the error. So, for example, the erratum of CNN. So, we would like to apologize for the typographical error we made in our newscast at 6 p.m. In that report, the graphics erroneously showed 11 coronavirus pandemic in Imos, Cavite, but the city only has one case. So, you have taken down the Facebook Live of our newscast where this was aired. We will air a corrected version in succeeding newscast. So we apologize to the local government and residents for the mistake that has caused public anxiety. Okay, next, harm minimization. So, not every fact that can be published should be published. If the amount of harm that could come to public individuals, particularly children, as a result of disclosure exceeds the public good, that would come of it. The news outlets might choose not to publish the story. This is less of the consideration when it comes to public figures. It is huge, however, in the matters of national security where lives could be on the line. For example po, so harm minimization is basically a principle in which not all stories should be published. May mga kwento na hindi dapat pang mainstream at hindi dapat malaman ng publiko because this is for the sake of the security. For example, no, the PNP is currently secretly, for example, but this is not happening. For example lang po, ang PNP. Currently, the PNP having a surprise evaluations, no, on their precincts kung talaga bang nag-report kahit gabi na yung mga kanilang mga police, no? Hindi po natin yan pwedeng i-report because of the fact that it is a surprise evaluation. And another example, if there is a ceasefire happening, no, ceasefire talks from a communist body, no, so that must be reported in news. It must be reported in news after the whole duration of the phenomenon and not while the phenomenon is happening. No po. Next, avoiding label. So this is a libel, This is a legal as well as moral imperative for journalists. So journalists cannot print false statements that damage a person's reputation. In most jurisdictions, true statement cannot be libelous. So journalists can protect themselves by rigorously checking facts. Yun po. So hindi po tayo pwedeng manira, hindi po tayo magsulat ng mga adjectives or mag-declare ng something for a person or for something that is not supported by facts. So it may cause cases, no, suits. Okay po. Number 7, proper attribution. So journalists must never plagiarize. If they use information from another media outlet or journalist, they need to attribute to them. So here, it is very important to cite the journalist who help you in writing the article or something, no? Okay. So since we have says there the plagiarized, let's come to plagiarism. So what is plagiarism? So from an excerpt from Reading and Writing Skills book from senior high school published by Rex Bookstore, it was been defined as consciously and unconsciously copying someone's work and claiming the copy as your own work without due citation. So it is considered as a form of dishonesty and reaches the issues of intellectual property rights. So in academic communities, committing plagiarism is a serious offense that can suspend and even expel the offender. So this act should not be done to avoid being questions of one intellectual integrity. So basically, plagiarism, as we all know, is copying others' work as claiming as it is yours, no? No, I'm sorry. So there are 6 common types of plagiarism as mentioned in Excalibur.com. So we have global plagiarism, paraphrasing plagiarism, verbatim plagiarism, mosaic plagiarism, and self-plagiarism, and incorrect citation. So when you say global plagiarism, this is presenting an entire text by someone else as your own work. So it is definitely the copying and pasting of a work and claiming it to be you, no? And to be yours, no? Paraphrasing naman is basically the words or the sentences by other writers. You paraphrase them and you didn't acknowledge them. Next, the verbatim. So directly copying a passage of the text without citation. So the difference between verbatim and global is copying the entire text, while in the verbatim you're just copying a passage or an excerpt, no, without mentioning your source, no. Mosaic plagiarism is combining text and ideas from different sources without citation. So this is basically you just read from one source, and then you will just tie them, and you didn't mention or you didn't write was your source, no? So that is basically mosaic plagiarism. That is just like in Tagalog we call it pinagtagpi-tagpi, ano po, or laundry fit work. Self-plagiarism naman is that you're reusing passages and ideas from your own previously submitted work and you submit it again. For example, have an article, you have assigned by your editor-in-chief to write a certain article about the COVID-19 pandemic, and basically you've been written it in your English 9 class, no? So you're resubmitting it, and that is a form of self-plagiarism. Although you are the writer of that, but it is also a type of plagiarism because you are reusing, no? If you are tasked to create a new, then create a new. Do not reuse. Or you can you can also get some points for there, but you yourself will be in the reference list, no? Next, incorrect citation. So failing to give all the necessary information in your source citation. So incorrect citation is basically citation with missing details. So citation. So as referred by Plagiarism.org, citation is the way you tell your readers that certain material in your work came from another source. So it gives the reader information necessary to find that source again, including the information about the author, the title of the work, the name and location of the company that published your copy of the source, and the date of your copy was published, and the page number of the material you are borrowing. So basically, citation is writing or citing all your sources that been used in writing such a piece, literary or academic piece. So there are different referencing styles. So a referencing style is a specific format for presenting in-text references, footnotes or endnotes, and bibliography. So this is the style of how we cite, or how we cite and how we create a citation list. Now, so referencing is the act of referring. So referencing is the act of telling that you get something idea from other works, no? So the following are the different styles of writing preferences, or references, I mean. So there are Harvard style of referencing, the American Psychological Association style of referencing, or the APA, the Vancouver style, the Modern Language Association citation style, and the Chicago Manual of Style and Royal Society of Chemistry style. Hi there, so that would be the first part of the campus journalism lecture, and please do wait for the second part of it. So I hope that this video will help you, and more power.